Daredevil is gonna need to put a team together to take down Wilson Fisk in season 2 of Daredevil Born Again. So let's break down who's on Daredevil's team, why they would want to even team up with Matt, and what they bring to the table to take down Fisk. So let's start with the most obvious team member, since we already saw her in episode 1 of this season, and that is Karen Paige. Now, Karen is obviously one of the closest people to Matt. She first met Matt and Foggy as she worked for them as an office manager, and then she later became an investigative journalist working for the New York Bulletin. Now, she's had a couple of really close people to her get killed by Wilson Fisk, including Elena Cardenas, who was a tenant in an apartment building that Karen was fighting to keep open, but Fisk bought the building, and Elena was killed by a local drug user who was paid by Wilson Fisk. And then when she was an investigative journalist, her mentor, Ben Urich, who was the uncle to Bibi in this show, he was also murdered by Wilson Fisk. And we can't forget the most recent tragedy where Vanessa, Fisk's wife, ordered Bullseye to kill Foggy Nelson. So if that's not enough motivation to get revenge against Fisk, I don't know what is. But what does Karen actually bring to the table? Clearly, she's very good at investigations. She was doing that obviously as a journalist. She helped uncover a lot of details in regards to Fisk's mother, as he basically was trying to hide her. You know, she was probably the closest person to Wilson, and he wanted to be as separated from her as possible. And in the first episode, we saw that Karen now is working on her martial arts. I mean, when we first saw her, I thought that that was Matt practicing on that mannequin, and clearly Karen has been doing her work. But given that Karen's strongest skills are investigating, that's not gonna be the only investigator on Matt's team. As we know, Jessica Jones is definitely going to be teaming up. In fact, we already heard her mentioned in the first episode. Now, Jessica Jones is an expert investigator. In fact, she has been running her own PI firm, Alias Investigations, for quite some time. Now, while Jessica has worked with Matt in the past, along with Luke Cage and Iron Fist in The Defenders, she never really had a true run-in with Wilson Fisk. However, given the fact that she already has a history of working with Daredevil in the past, and I'm sure that Fisk is gonna somehow find out that she's helping with Karen and Matt, that obviously she's gonna be on Fisk's naughty list. So with that being said, I think it's already clear that Jess is an expert investigator. However, that's not her only skill or ability. She does have superhuman abilities thanks to a genetic experiment, at least in the MCU. Physically speaking, she possesses superhuman strength capable of lifting cars and bending metal. She also has enhanced speed and superhuman durability. Now, while Jessica Jones seems like a very obvious addition to the team, let's talk about a not so obvious addition to the team, and that is Benjamin Poindexter, aka Bullseye. Now, we saw him, or at least his knife, at the end of episode 1 in this season. And I mean, really, him and Matt pretty much hate each other. There's really no reason for Bullseye to want to work with Matt, and there's absolutely no reason why Matt would want to work with Bullseye, because Bullseye killed his best friend, Foggy. However, I do think this is going to be a team-up situation because they have a common enemy in Wilson Fisk, and I think they're going to realize that they're not going to be able to win individually, and by teaming up is the only way that they can take him down. Now, the reason why Bullseye would want to get revenge against Fisk, even though he has worked for him in the past, is because Fisk orchestrated the murder of Julia Barnes, which was a woman that Bullseye was kind of obsessed with, and definitely wasn't a healthy relationship to be exact. But because of that murder, that pretty much destroyed Bullseye's complete mental state and pretty much drove him crazy, pretty much eliminating his quote-unquote North Star. And not only that, but Fisk also paralyzed or at least broke his spine in a three-way fight with Daredevil. And let's just say Bullseye is not the biggest fan of Wilson Fisk, but what does Bullseye bring to the table? Well, we clearly know that he is an expert marksman. He's basically Hawkeye without the morals and ethics. I mean, the dude just doesn't miss, and he can pretty much turn absolutely anything into a weapon. I mean, we've seen him use a paperclip, we've seen him use a tooth. The man is amazing with pretty much any object, and he doesn't miss. And even though he doesn't have any superhuman abilities, he has trained his body to be on the level of an Olympic athlete. Let's also not fail to mention that he's an expert in hand-to-hand combat, and because Fisk paralyzed or broke his back, he underwent a surgery which gave him an experimental bionically enhanced cognium spine that drastically increases his physical durability. Now, another unlikely person on Daredevil's team team is going to be Jack Dukane, aka Swordsman. Now, even though we saw Jack in this season, we saw him in the first season where he basically vocalized his objections to Fisk's changes to the New York Police Department as well as the Red Hook Port Project. Ultimately, in that season, Fisk's Safer Streets initiative led to Dukane's arrest and imprisonment, which we saw as he was in kind of that dungeon that Fisk had, along with the Punisher and other vigilantes or just other people who opposed Fisk. So clearly, Swordsman has the motivation to get revenge against Fisk, but again, what does he bring to the table? Well, thanks to his name, we know he is a master of sword combat. Now, we've only seen a little bit of his skills in action, mainly in the Hawkeye series, where we saw him doing a little bit of parrying with Kate Bishop, as well as fending off members of the Tracksuit Mafia with a saber. Rounding out Daredevil's team is probably someone we weren't necessarily expecting, or at least she wasn't expecting to be on the team, and that is Angela Del Toro, aka the White Tiger. Now, we saw hints of Angela in the first season. Now, if you didn't see it, or if you just don't remember, her uncle is Hector Ayala, who was the White Tiger in the first season. However, he was brutally murdered. Now, we did end up seeing Angela end up getting the White Tiger amulet, which will give her powers. Now, she clearly has a motive to get revenge against Fisk because she believes it was those anti-vigilante task force members who ended up killing her uncle. Let alone, she also wants to fight systemic corruption and also fight against the bad guys because she was actually captured by Muse in the first season and almost had all of her blood drained out of her. So now that we know that she's going to be White Tiger, what does that actually bring to the team? Since she does have the White Tiger amulet, she will now have those powers when she's wearing it, which will allow her to have increased physical strength, speed, stamina, agility, reflexes, coordination, balance, and endurance, and it will also improve her martial arts skills. But let's also not forget again that she was tracking down Muse before she got kidnapped, and so she also has some really good investigative and sleuthing skills. Although I do think we're going to get some special surprises by the end of the season to join Matt's team, these are without a doubt going to be members on Daredevil's team. Let me know what you think of the team down below in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and until the next video, Excelsior.